Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We'll get to the JRC in a moment. First, the usual disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all pertinent links are going to be in the description box. Should you like to do a deep dive, you should be able to go ahead and do so. Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do indeed use profanity, and when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. So if you got a child that watches the channel 16 or younger, parental supervision very much advised, alright? Okay, back to where we are. This is from Rico Shepard JD, Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network. I remember when they were originally getting up and going. I appreciate it because even within our group of folks, there are those of us who are a little bit marginalized. Mainly because the pursuant thought for so long was that boys were pretty much almost the only ones who were being diagnosed autistic. Well, it turns out autism presents a little bit different in us females. Granted, my form tends to be a little bit more like my male peers, but I have seen it present very differently with women, with our non-binary folks, with our trans folks. You get where I'm going there. It can present extremely differently in those groups. We haven't had a whole lot of voice until, starting around the 2010s or so when this group got up and going. So I've always supported their work and shall continue to do so. Now, we're going to go ahead and read this here. The Autistic Women and Non-Binary Network, also known as AWN, and the Autistic People of Color Fund. Yes, I've been happy to see that. Because, unfortunately, for a long time, the majority of the voices within the movement has been us white folk. And there was underrepresentation for our folks of color for quite some time. So, love to see it, love everything about it. Appreciate the opportunity to submit commentary to the Interagency Autism Coordinating Committee, IACC. AWN is a national non-for-profit that supports autistic women, girls, trans feminine, and trans masculine non-binary people, and trans people of all genders. Together, AWN and the fund direct policy research and community advocacy to advance the health and independence of all disabled people. All autistic people are at higher risk of unemployment, poorer health, and other adverse outcomes than their non-autistic counterparts. Hence why so many of us don't make it to 40. I consider myself extremely profoundly lucky and privileged that I have been able to make it. Because it was touch and go a lot of times. However, they face further oppression on account of racism, anti-queer discrimination, and anti-immigrant prejudice. Do you all have any idea how many times I have heard people malign my trans autistic peers, saying, well, no, they just don't really understand themselves, so they're being suggested into this. Like, boy, you know nothing about us autistic folk, if that's what you think's going on. Every decision a lot of us make has already been analyzed within an inch of its life, and then analyzed again, and then one more time. Yeah, it's horrendous how they were treated. I mean, out here in my own state, They had legislation up trying to say that if you are a trans person and you are autistic, that due to the fact that you are autistic, they would not allow you to be able to make the decision for full conversion therapy, full conversion surgery. Literally using their diagnosis as the reason. So, yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. But if you can tell that that's been bugging me for a good long moment, yeah. When research studies do not include or focus on diverse populations, this lack of information can be misinterpreted as indicating a lower prevalence of autism, which in turn can lead to underfunding services that could best support and respond to specific needs of these marginalized communities. Speak on it. We urge IACC to prioritize the following research topics and also ensure that this research is informed and led by autistic principal and co-principal investigators. Speak on it. Sorry. Number 1, exploring the impact of racism and anti-immigrant discrimination on the mental health of autistic people. Systemic racism and anti-immigrant discrimination contribute to increased rates and severity of psychological distress, but we need more empirical research to provide appropriate supports. Not just that, but Missouri is one of the worst offenders when it comes to access to diagnostic care. Even getting tested. A lot of these people have to drive to clinics. Not everybody can afford that. Especially not now. And where those clinics are tend to be in predominantly, yes, I'm going to say it, flame me if you want to, I don't care, it's another day that ends in Y. In people of color neighborhoods, there's almost no clinics where these folks could take their kids not just to seek treatment, but to also get properly clinically diagnosed. Yeah, because getting to these appointments, going to places you may have to drive to get to, especially now that abomination bill, where some of those clinics, due to lack of funds, have had to close. You're talking about people who are already just barely making it. You want them to spend them hundreds in gas to go to a clinic on another side of town. What if they have to use the bus? As a person who has used the bus system, any trip is going to take the entirety of your damn day. I know, I've done it for years. Okay? So what does that mean? That means those parents might have to lose hours off of work. Right? It's extremely underserved. There needs to be clinics that these folks in these neighborhoods can be able to get access to, point blank. And they shouldn't have to, almost risk everything just to get... You see where I'm going. Sorry, getting on my soapbox here. Number 2, the prevalence of school exclusions and court involvement for autistic students of color. Most research focuses on students with disabilities as a whole, but autistic students of color may need tailored strategies to protect them from criminalization, suspension, and expulsion. I remember specifically out in St. Louis, where a poor kid, God, I believe he was gassed. And what happened was an old white lady called because this young man, he liked, like many of us autistics, to take long walks. Most of us have a normal gait when we walk. Apparently his gait frightened her. And this kid, like most of us, getting suddenly addressed by someone we don't know, our fight or flight tends to kick in. Yeah. Not too long after that, another of our black neurodivergent peers was known for playing the violin. He was shot and killed just for walking around carrying his violin case. The excuse was, well, I thought it might be a gun. Preach it. 3. Health disparities focused on autistic people of color, LGBTQ autistic people, and autistic immigrants and refugees, with a goal of developing guidelines and standards in cultural competency and communication access. What's going on with immigrants overall is horrific. You probably have a good chunk of them right now not going in for their usual services and in regards to their treatment program because they're afraid they're going to be grabbed off the street by ICE. I've already heard about using a woman's autistic child in order to force her out of the house so that they could arrest her. Yeah, I've got a lot to say. Does it show? Prevalence of housing instability for autistic people with additional demographic analysis across race, LGBTQ status, and immigrant or refugee status. One of the main reasons is some of us have difficulty in holding on to jobs. A lot of it has to do with the fact that we're not, at least in my experience, my own personal experience, what I lived, it was that I did not like that did not want any part of office culture. I was there to do my job and go home, and that has cost me more jobs. Yeah. Employment rates for autistic people with additional demographic analysis across race, LGBTQ status, and immigrant or refugee status with a goal of developing strategies for increasing competitive integrated employment. I know some of you GOP people would say, but no integration. Take a look at the world right now. How's that looking? That's your guy there. You own that. That's all I'm going to say. I try to keep it out of this, but not when it comes to my disabled fellows. Then I turn into that Computer from Space Odyssey 2001. I can't do that, Dave. 6. The effects of linguistic and cultural barriers on autistic immigrants and refugees adjusting to life in the United States. 7. Research exploring negative repercussions or permanent punishments for formerly incarcerated autistic people, including but not limited to housing, educational options, or health outcomes, with additional demographic analysis across race, LGBTQ status, and immigrant and or refugee status. And number 8, access to alternative and augmentative communication. Right? And remember, at the JRC, if you use any other language than English, remember that poor dude who got shucked for it. Just so you guys know where we're going here. Now again, some of you are like, but Tiffany, what does this have to do with the JRC? You're getting a good idea here of where we are and where we want to go in the sane world of treatment. It's giving you a good idea of what the actual standard of care really looks like. It also gives the lie to the JRCs, but nothing else will work for these kids. There's nothing we know. There's nothings. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. So we're going to continue to go ahead and go through this bit of information here. I know eventually we'll get to the JRC, because generally we do these days when it comes to this type of paperwork and committees, because they are the cautionary tale that they use to teach others going into this field on, what we're not doing here. We're going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. If you folks would be so kind, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one, folks. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye now.